All right, welcome back. Now to our Tri-State Office Furniture Tweet of the Day. Paul, this is interesting. This was announced today. For clarity, this is from Tom Pelissero of the NFL. He said, here's where the NFL playoffs stand right now. Plan A would be play all 256 games in 17 weeks, 14 teams in the postseason. Plan B would be add an 18th week to play all 256 games and 14 teams. That would be, if there were makeup games, that would be that potential bye week right there. And then Plan C would be some games that matter for playoff eligibility would be played, or seeding cannot be played, and then you'd have 16 teams in the postseason. I know this is early on, Paul, and I don't know which direction things are trending right now. I mean, it looks like more people are getting this virus. I don't even know what plan that they would fall into. It's hard to even predict that right now, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the thing about it is they should have built in that bye week, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the season. That should have been built in anyway to start this thing. And frankly, I probably would have said play 15 games so that you can build an extra week somewhere in everybody's schedule. So everybody has 2 bye weeks during the season, and then you've got, I guess it would be week 18 or 19 where, there's nobody plays, so in case you need to make up games then, you could do that as well. It just was poorly planned in my mind. Why are we talking about changing the format and all this other stuff in the middle of the season? This should have been handled. Yeah,
I agree with you. It should have been a bye week at the end of the year no matter what. That should have been, we should have just went with that plan to begin with. But, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens here. I want to get to a tweet real quick before we take these phone calls. Brian Moyer just tweeted us. He said, I think you rest Ben this week. What do you think? I mean, he thinks maybe you lose and it bites them, but give them a rest. Could be a better decision for the long run. I don't agree with that at all. If Ben's able to play, he plays, because it's a huge drop-off.
Well, obviously, Richie, you don't read the Post-Gazette, because I wrote this very column today. I
didn't read it yet, Paul. I didn't read it yet.
hey, just that him being out is actually not a bad thing. And that, you have a choice. If I told you right now, Rich, you could have the Steelers at 15-1, and they've got the #1 seed, but they've got a beat-up, banged-up, not very terribly rested, and bad knees, one of them really gimpy, Ben, or you do the load management thing like the NBA, and okay, you're 13-3 and you're the #2 seed or whatever, but you got a healthy and rested, Ben who took this week off, was able to recover, rejuvenate, and, for the home stretch, and you've got a healthier Ben. What would you rather have?
I mean, if you make that point, and I'll go and read your story tonight after this, but if you make that point, it sounds good on paper. 15-1 is great, because I think they're going to be 13-3, 14-2-ish, right around there. They're going to lose a couple. I'm looking at the Bills, the Colts, maybe the Ravens, and maybe a game that they normally lose. I mean, look, Paul, they lose a game like this every year. The Bengals, maybe not the Bengals, but how about the Jacksonville game? That's prime time losing for the Steelers type situation, right? 4 days before the Ravens game, looking ahead, a bad team. That's the game I think they lose. But you make a good point here. Maybe play Mason Rudolph. But if Ben's healthy and he tests negative, you got to play the guy, right?
Again, they do it in every other sport.
Yeah.
They call it load management in baseball, or in the NBA. In baseball, they build in rest days into all these guys' schedules 30 days in advance. I'm not saying that if he's healthy, obviously he's not going to let you not let him play. But my point is, if his knee's a little bit banged up, and there was reports that both knees were banged up, this is a perfect example a perfect time to say, hey, he didn't practice all week, so he can't. We don't want to put him out there. We're going to put the guys that practiced out there and give him a week off, and hopefully, because listen, he's 38 now. He's not 27, 28 where you recover, in 2 days. These older guys, they get these bumps and bruises that Mike Tomlin talks about. And you know what? If they don't let them properly heal, because it takes longer to recover and takes longer to heal, they become chronic. They become, lingering things. And by the end of the year, they're running on fumes and running around on a gimpy leg. I'm just saying it's hard for people to look beyond one game. But this is a team that should be looking at the big picture. And the big picture is we need to make sure this guy is as best he can possibly be going into the playoffs.
You and I know this about getting old and bumps and bruises. Feel them way more now than I did 20 years ago. Let's go to Josiah in San Antonio. How are you doing, Josiah?
Hey, Rich. Hey, Paul.
Hey.
Just two things. Number one, it's not so much of Roethlisberger having COVID-19. You knew going into the season he had a bad shoulder. Now he has the two knees. They should have went out and got Teddy Bridgewater. You had Cam Newton. You had Nick Foles. And those two passes from Mason Rudolph, they almost gave me a heart attack. And if Ben is out for any significant time, we're screwed. And I don't know what the Rooneys were doing sitting there banking on Mason Rudolph. I'm sorry, he is not the answer.
Hey, you make a good point here, Josiah. I mean, and this is what I wanted to ask Paul. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, I'm assuming it's Mason Rudolph, but Joshua Dobbs, I would think, would have an opportunity too, right?
I would think if Ben can't play, it'll be Mason Rudolph that starts the game. I think they'll play, the majority of the snaps as long as he's not horrendous and they are winning or they have a chance to win. He'll continue to play, but it won't shock me if they do something like if they're going to give Josh Dobbs snaps at practices this week. It won't shock me if they have some packages put together. So you might see both of these guys in the game.
Hey, Paul, what do you think of Josiah's question, though? You think they should have went out and got a quarterback? I mean, I know, Pony and I would talk about it all the time. I think you and I did, too. Maybe go out there, get a Jameis Winston or someone like that. But I think money had a lot to do with it, too.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of guys that if they had a shot to go get, I think Jameis Winston was one. Bridgewater wanted to be. He was going to be a starter. There was no way he was coming here to be a backup. Cam Newton is another, although, he's been pretty shaky outside of, the second half last night against the Jets. But for the most part, I don't know that there was a ton of guys out there that really would make them better. That's the big thing. There wasn't that many. I mean, Andy Dalton, I guess.
Yeah.
There just wasn't that many guys.
Let's go out to Carl in Newcastle. What's up, Carl?
Yeah, that's the same thing I was going to ask about. If you thought they should have went out and got another quarterback, or who do you like, Rudolph or Dobbs?
Thanks, Carl. I mean, for me, it's Rudolph. I mean, he's your backup guy. They've said it. Everyone there says it. They want him to be the backup. He's the backup. Josh Dobbs comes in if he struggles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question he'll start the game.
Yeah.
But again, it won't shock me if even if he starts the game, they 3-4 series in, all of a sudden Josh Dobbs comes out and they run some Wildcat stuff and some other crazy things. I mean, that's if you are trying to put together an offense to win a game and you need to, be as creative as you possibly can, you got a resource like Josh Dobbs, why not use him some?
Yeah. But if I'm a betting man, I still think Ben Roethlisberger starts this game. But I do like your point, Paul.
No, absolutely. I agree. But if I were the king of the world,
yeah,
it'd be load management, baby. He'd be having a seat.
Hey, Paul, sometimes you act like the king of the world.
Yeah, some days, yes.
We got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.